Good afternoon. We're excited about our third opportunity to play preseason football in Denver. We're excited for a lot of reasons. This is a simulation week, if you will, in terms of preparation, and it's going to be a lot of snaps, of course, for frontline people, for us, and hopefully for them. Of course, we don't have control over that, but we assume that they're going to play their people quite a bit. So it's going to be a regular season type atmosphere in a hostile environment in front of some great fans, one that we think is going to be critical to our growth and development in regular season readiness. So we're excited about that. We're also excited about the many opportunities and challenges we're presenting a bunch of guys on our team. Some of the things that we've outlined here earlier in the week, we're excited about Antonio Brown returning punts and kicks again for us this week, and us designing some schemes, of course, that hopefully highlight his skill set. Daniel Sepulveda kicking off. Matt Stewart's going to snap for us in both punts and PATs and field goals in this game. Wanted to take him to training camp, of course, due to injury. We went out and got Flozell Adams and Adrian Jones, of course, and that made a specialist like him expendable, if that's the appropriate word, but wanted to get him back in here and give him the opportunity that we intended to give him before we went to training camp. So glad to have him back and take a look at him. We're swapping our young wide receivers, Antonio Brown and Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders is moving from X to Z, and Antonio Brown is moving from Z to X to see if they can continue to be position flexible, but also to see if they can handle the responsibilities that come with those positions. X is a catch and run position. Hopefully, Antonio Brown will be able to highlight some of his skill sets in that position, of course. And Z, of course, which is the position that Hines Ward plays. They're in a lot of combative situations in the run game with strong safeties and so forth. Emmanuel Sanders has proven to be somewhat surprisingly aggressive and physical. We want to see if that can continue. We want to see if he can potentially even block a guy the caliber of Dawkins, who's going to be on and around the line of scrimmage. It's a daunting task for a young guy. We want to give Marquise Pouncey some first-team reps, of course. They've also got a nose guard in Jamal Williams, who's a quality, perennial Pro Bowl caliber player. Marquise is taking advantage of the opportunities given to him to this point. We want to continue to give him opportunities and see what he does with them. It's going to be an awesome opportunity to play against a quality player like Jamal. Dennis Dixon has done great with the opportunities that we've provided him to this point. We think he's deserving of some first-team snap opportunities with our people, hopefully versus their people. But, again, we have no control over who they play and when. We're looking forward to seeing him take advantage of that. I know he's probably excited about that. There's great scarcity with first-team snaps in the preseason. We've been very thoughtful and diligent about how we dole those out. We've given deference to the veteran player, if you will, and Byron Leftwich, who's taking advantage of his, and the young guy in Dennis, who, of course, we aspired to give a bunch of snaps to, has taken advantage of those snaps and is deserving of an opportunity to play with the ones. So we're excited about all of those things and many more challenges, of course, and opportunities that await us on Sunday night in Denver, and we look to see how that unfolds. Questions?
Coach, when you talk about getting some snaps with the ones, maybe a situation like last week where Ben ran some series and then Byron came in and finished up the half, and then Dennis had the second half. Can we expect something like that?
Maybe. Great thing about the preseason is we don't have to come to any final decisions until the 11th hour, and I'll continue to stay in that mode of mindset because we can.
Mike, why this late in the game to get Dennis into the first team? Has he surprised you with what he's done? Is this something he's earned?
Not at all. Follow me here, okay? In the first preseason game, you got about 5 to 7 to 10 first-team snaps. In the second preseason game, generally they kind of double. In the third preseason game, that's the first time that you get a legitimate number of first-team snaps. Dennis is a young guy. We acknowledge he was a young guy. We wanted to provide him with more snaps than the other guys because of that. But at the same time, because of the scarcity of first-team snaps, we weren't interested in wasting them, if you will, on a young guy if he wasn't deserving. I think with the consistency of his play, he's proven that he's deserving, so we're going to give them to him. And in hindsight, we haven't wasted one of them to this point. So we're excited about that. He's deserving. Hopefully he feels like his past due. I'd rather him have that feeling than to be giving it to him. So we're excited.
Mike, just to be clear, you're not naming a starter today?
No.
So this is based, and Dennis getting some reps for the first team potentially on Saturday is based primarily then on merit of what he's done so far, as opposed to a big game plan like you had to get him some first teams?
Based on merit. And I was hopeful that he would have earned it by this week, because I knew that this week would be the week where we'd have an extended opportunity, or at least potential opportunity, to go ones-on-ones in a preseason football game.
I'm sorry, what is it that you've liked best about what you've seen with him that's opened your eyes maybe not?
He's been more consistent than he has in the past. And really, I expected him to be. It's the natural maturation process of any player. You can say that about a bunch of young players on our football team. Tony Hills has been more consistent than he has in the past. Craig Urbick has been more consistent than he has in the past. Keenan Lewis has been more consistent than he has been in the past. Dennis is just like those guys. He just happens to play quarterback. He's been more consistent than he has in the past. And so he's getting opportunities, just like all those other guys that I mentioned are getting increased opportunities.
Michael, there's top three quarterbacks, do they all play then against them?
That is our intention, yes.
Coach, you talk about Flozell and what he's been able to do since he's joined the team. I talked to him today. He said,
You talked to Flozell?
He basically was saying, learning a new playbook and how you guys go about your business, or some adjustments. How's he done with those adjustments?
I've enjoyed him. He's a competitor. He's a pro. He's a crafty guy. I think our group has learned a lot from him and how he does his business because he has been around and he is such a crafty guy. He understands angles and blocking positions and how to cut people off and how to utilize his mass. Is he still making an adjustment, of course, to playing on the right side? Absolutely. This guy has 12 to 15 to how many years of muscle memory on the left side, and even more so in that when you're talking about college and, of course, and potentially even high school. So that is an adjustment. But there are a lot of positives, of course, to go along with the adjustments that he's going through. I'm enjoying the process. I think that he's enjoying the process, but it is a process that we're going through, and we're pleased to this point.
How long will the starters play? Will they possibly go into the third quarter?
I look forward to that, but of course, game sequence and circumstances a lot of times dictate that. I was watching a little preseason football last night, and those guys played longer than probably they anticipated because they were below the line of performance. The same could probably happen if we don't play as well as we'd like.
Mike, we've heard a lot about the right side of the offensive line with the turnover and the changes there. How about the left side? How about Max and Kimoyatu? How have they looked when you break them out?
They've been solid. They really have. Those guys play a lot of football for us, and particularly in the positions that they're playing. The expectation level is extremely high for those guys. They're working toward it. Are they there? No. But none of us are. It's a process, and the work that they do on Sunday night is going to be a big component of that evaluation.
Mike, will you keep a similar rotation with at center and right tackle, or will you be inclined to go more with Pouncey and Flozell through first team?
I intend to see a lot of Marquise because we anticipate hopefully seeing a lot of Jamal Williams in that matchup, of course. Hadn't thought a great deal about the intimate details of the snap count at this point. We'll nail that down. Just rest assured that we're gonna get a sufficient look at both guys.
So you don't know if he'll start Marquise then?
He'll start.
He'll start. How about McFadden? Is he going to play?
He's not playing.
So you'll see more Keenan Lewis then?
He'll start.
He'll start.
Mike, Emmanuel played a lot of flanker in college. What had you deciding to start him at split end instead of a flanker here?
It's an easier position to learn because of the lack of pre-snap movement that comes with the X position, and of course the myriad of blocking assignments. Some of the things that Hines Ward does uniquely becomes the standard of the position for those that play behind him. We were trying to keep him away from that firestorm, if you will, and letting veteran players such as Antoine Randall handle those responsibilities. Is no different than maybe a young guy that might play behind Troy Polamalu. The standards that he sets for the position are the standard. So, Emmanuel has done good with the opportunities we've given him. He's been consistently physical in the run game and finishing plays. We're going to slide him over to that Z position and see if he can put his big boy pads on and block people and motion and route adjust and do some of the things that come with playing the Z position.
Mike, can you talk about what you've seen from Ryan Mundy and Will Allen and how you plan to rotate them this week in place of Ryan Clark?
They've been rock solid in their safety play. Both guys have played strong and free. And equally important, or more important than that, is that they've been very good core special teams players and played in multiple phases for us there. Backup safeties have to be those kind of guys. They fit the bill in that regard. Both guys are veteran players, of course, Will more so than Ryan, but we've been pleased with the play of both. And at this point, we're comfortable with playing both. Will Allen is going to get the start, but both guys are going to play.
Like your red zone offense, how developed are the roles for certain guys? And will this game be a big spot for that?
This game is going to be a big component of that. We haven't game planned for the red area in the preseason at this point. We just really haven't. That's just the nature of preseason. We have this week. So our performance in this area this week will be weighted differently than our performance in the preseason thus far in that area. That's just the reality of it.
As far as your long snapper goes, you're just trying to get a look at a different player, or is there something less than satisfactory what you've seen from Greg so far in the season?
I'm interested in motivation, and competition is a pretty good motivator. Wanted to do that and take Matt Stewart to training camp. Wasn't able to because of the injuries in the offensive line. Had to acquire some additional guys in Flozell Adams and Adrian Jones. Had an opportunity to bring him back, so we did, and we're interested in seeing what he's capable of doing, and hopefully it'll create a competitive environment and atmosphere that's going to be beneficial to us.
Like, wondering if you saw any of the Colts action last night. Peyton Manning and their offense were having some trouble with the in-game hurry-up with the new umpire position. Are you inclined to maybe try that in the preseason just to see how your offense handles the waiting?
No, we did in training camp when we had the officials visit us several weeks back in Latrobe. And you guys know situationally we do 2-minute football in training camp, and we compete good on good, if you will. The day that they were there, we pushed that sequence outside of 2 minutes and put 5 minutes on the clock for that very reason. We wanted to get a feel, if you will, on how hurry-up would be affected by the position of that man. It's not an issue, of course, in 2-minute football because he's going to be back as an original spot, but you acknowledge that it is going to be an issue if you're in hurry-up offense, particularly if you're down by multiple scores outside of 2 minutes late in a football game, that you're going to potentially lose seconds and plays because of the location of that man. But it's also up to the quarterback and the offense to make sure that that man is positioned and ready to go before you start the process. So we wanted to look at that back weeks ago, and we were able to get an understanding of the adjustment that comes with his location. And the reality is that you're going to lose seconds and ultimately snaps because of his position.
Will it allow the defense to also substitute a little more than maybe they had in the past?
I don't think substitution is going to be affected by it because very rarely in those instances defenses are interested in substituting unless offenses do. And when offenses do, defenses are given a reasonable amount of time to match personnel. So I don't think that defensive personnel or substitution is going to be a major factor in the position of the umpire.
You had your crystal ball on that one. That's exactly what you kind of thought would happen.
That's what the Roonies paid me for.
After you watching preseason football last night, did you see kind of the trouble that Peyton Manning had with that same situation? He seemed to.
I didn't see it. I didn't. No.
As far as the quarterback, will it be like the first two games, and then as far as who's starting, there'll be kind of an 11th hour decision?
Yeah, it's probably beneficial to us to kind of hold our cards. I know Coach Smith does an awesome job down in Atlanta, got a great deal of respect for him. I would imagine that it's going to be increasingly difficult for him to prepare to play us if we don't provide that information for him.